And we're live. Welcome to the live stream, everyone. Yes, it is my birthday. Thanks so much, Jeej. And Diego already here. Welcome. Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm just doing a birthday live stream. It's not necessarily the topic of the live stream, but you know. Betty arrives late. And the birthday is a great excuse. That's true, it is a great excuse. When did you send that? Did you send that recently? By the way, if you sent that, I just seen that now, but I've scheduled this live stream to be an hour later than I usually do. So I normally schedule it at 9 Central European time, but I scheduled it at 10 because I just knew that I was going to be late, you know, because of birthday stuff, you know. Let me know that you can hear me and everything's coming out clearly, and all that. I'm in a C tuning today. I thought I'd try some songs that I haven't played in a while, and it's always a risk for me to play a song I haven't played in a while because I usually do mess it up, you know. All good. Perfect. Thanks so much. Yeah. So we'll get started with the first song. What presents did I get? Not really. No guitar stuff. Funnily enough, you know, I stopped asking my family to get me guitar stuff a long time ago, because you know it just doesn't interest them. You know, I'd rather just get it myself. You know, it's one of these things that they get no pleasure in that. You know, so it was just. It was kind of a few different things. I got these plants behind me. Got some new fake plants to kind of jazz up the look of everything, because you know everything's very sort of white and beige. I like to put just adds a bit of color, you know. And because I'm in a basement, it's you know, I get no natural sunlight, so. And I usually end up killing plants anyway because I forget to water them. So, you know, this is this is best for the plants and for me. No guitar stuff. What's the point of having a birthday? Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah. You know, all the stuff I want is. It's never really new stuff anyway, you know. It's all like random secondhand stuff I'm interested in, and sort of vintage stuff that you find on eBay that is really hard to find, you know. I didn't want to put my family through that. Yeah. So I'll start with a song. This is called, I'm cheating a little bit here. I never usually do this. I do have the lyrics, but just in case I forget, you know. Which I'm hoping I don't have to look at the lyrics, but we'll see. And then I just completely gave that away, so you can tell if I'm looking this way, I'm looking at the lyrics during the song. But you know, with all of this, I like to be open with all of you and not give you any smoke and mirrors, you know. I'll tell you when I mess up and I'll point it out, you know. I won't try and hide things. Just making this sure this tuning is okay. Got a few effects on this one. Got some sort of a bit of distortion and a bit of reverb in there that I'll bring in and out. This is called The Old Tobacco Tin, and it's an idea that came to me when actually my grandma passed away a few years ago now, and we were kind of going through her things, and we found this old tobacco tin, which was actually my granddad's, and it sort of sparked this story of a song where, so usually my songs are based around stories of people, of experiences, either my experiences or other people's experiences, and but this one, this is like a story of an actual object, you know. So I thought that was quite interesting to tell this story of an object, because I like the idea of an object or something that outlives us, you know, and then gets passed down. Especially things like instruments, you know, instruments that are built really, really well, that outlive people, you know, and it's just the idea of that you have an instrument for your whole life and then you pass it down to another person, or you sell it and it goes to the next person, you know, and it can kind of have a different effect on different people. But it's this kind of idea, and this just happens to be a tobacco tin, which is, you know, a tin that you keep your tobacco in. So that's what kind of sparked the idea of the story. All right, here we go. Let's try it. Let's give it a go. Bit of reverb on the vocals. All right. The scent of carpets and dust filled the air in the small cottage where an old man once was. Now just cardboard boxes live there, filled with his life and his love. His son was going through its forest scenes, throwing these boxes with white and rainfall. Under the folded white shirts was something, his old tobacco tin. From then he kept it for 10 years, in fact. Something so simple, it brought memories back. The old tobacco smell, the lust to his head. Will's cut golden bar it read. Tuesday's the day when them bin men come down, slipping down the driveway, he's late for his round. The old and the things don't go in the bin, that old tobacco tin. From then he kept it for 10 years, in fact. Something so simple, it brought memories back. The old tobacco smell, the rust to his head. Will's cut golden bar it read. Tuesday's the day when them bin men come down, slipping down the driveway, he's late for his rounds. Some things don't mean to go in the bin, that old tobacco tin. Tobacco tin. Tobacco tin. That was the old tobacco tin, and I didn't do the whole song of that because I'm still relearning my songs. If any of you, by the way, if any of you are part of my little community that I've got going on, I send out emails whenever I have a live stream, which is usually every week. So I send out an email just telling you what's it about, the live stream, and kind of what we're going to go over and stuff like this. And I mainly do it for a video form because I really struggle with writing emails. So it's just easier for me to just turn on the camera. But can't remember what my point was. But yeah, I kind of mentioned that I'll be trying a few new songs. I say new, old songs that I haven't played in a while. Let me know if anybody experiences this, whether you have songs that you just that you don't play as often, and you should practice them. What I really need to do is I need to go through all of my old songs, my whole repertoire, and just kind of relearn my songs, because there's a whole load of songs that for whatever reason I just don't play as much, and I think that's partly because I wasn't as happy with them, either in the recording or in the song itself, so I kind of have my go-to, my favorites, and that's maybe also because of the way certain songs have been received, so maybe they in turn become my favorites and my most popular songs, because I know that a lot of my audience listens to them, so maybe it's a two-way thing. I don't know, a bunch of reasons probably, but that's a shame, because it means that I got a whole load of songs that I have kind of forgotten, and I have to relearn my songs, and I find myself just listening back to my old songs and relearning them, which is weird. It's a weird thing to do, but I think it's important as well, because it's when you relearn a song, you can kind of you play it differently. Songs evolve over time, so I think it's important to try and keep all of your songs alive, even if you don't like them anymore. You can potentially change them and reignite them and play them in a completely different way, and this can really kind of not only add another song to your repertoire, something you can bring out in concerts and whenever, but you can also it can kind of make you feel good, about your writing, your songwriting. Anyway, we'll go to the comments. G says, the stuff you want is always expensive. I know it's bad. The distortion is the Behringer still. I'd like to get explore with some different overdrives and some different, I'm not really that experienced with distortion itself, because I've been an acoustic guitarist for so long. Fuzz, distortion, overdrive, it's all slightly different, and I sort of gather the difference between them, but I think I just need to look about what I would like. I think it's just, what I like to do is just add a little bit of crunch now and again, just a slight sort of, harshness at certain moments can be nice. That's it, really, So I was thinking maybe like I don't know. Fuzz can be good, Fuzz can be interesting. This is a vintage tube overdrive. It's called by Behringer, but it's not sponsored at all. I only went for it because it was cheap, and I wanted to try out. The good thing is with there's a lot of companies that do very cheap pedals, and it's a good thing to get if you just want to try something out, because you don't know if a certain thing will work. And I guess that it's very different to a very cheap overdrive to a very expensive overdrive, but you can kind of get the similar feel, the idea of what sort of sound you're gonna get, so that's basically what I wanted. Yeah, I'm in C, I'm in C, G, C, G, C, D. So, it's all fifths and roots, and then there's a second or a ninth in there. Depends on which way you look at it. But that's it, you know. It's a sus tuning again. I like these sort of very open sus tunings, and so I can play in minor and in major keys. Don, how's it going? Alles Gute zu deinem Geburtstag. Vielen Dank. May your dreams come true. Liebe Grüße, Don. Thanks so much, Don. Appreciate that. Do I smoke? You know, I used to smoke back in my 20s, and it was just very much like a, you know, something I did now and again. It wasn't really a serious thing, you know. So it was, as soon as I had my son was born, we both pretty much quit, you know, so it was quite easy for me to do that because I was just like a part-time smoker anyway, you know. But I think like back in the day, like my granddad, I think those days, most people did smoke, you know. So he had like a tobacco tin that I just found. One of these old tobacco tins, which are quite nice, you know. They're quite nice for keeping stuff in, if you can get rid of the smell. I do use the tin. I have it somewhere. I don't know what I've got in there, but I've got it somewhere around, lying around. Yeah. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Glad you like the tune. That's like one of my older tunes from my second album, actually. And you know, I was never too happy about the recording. And it's I mean, I don't want to go into it too much right now, but it's I kind of felt like I didn't you know, when you go into a studio and you have a certain amount of time, a lot of the time you feel like you can't you can't say something, you know. Or not that you can't say something, but like it's harder to say, actually, can we do that again, you know? When time is money, you know, especially in the studio. And, you know, when you've got like, okay, it's a week or you got 2 weeks to lay stuff down. And this was with like we had a few other instruments. You know, there was a drummer, percussionist, you know, other stuff, other people involved, other than just me. And you know, back then I had like a record label, a manager, and stuff like this. So then it gets harder, especially with the sort of person that I am, you know, to kind of speak up and say like, I'm not too keen on this one. Can we redo it? You know, which I totally should have done, but you know, I was younger and a bit naive, I guess. But you know, you live and you learn these sort of situations, and I'm just really glad that now I'm kind of recording myself, everything, and it's kind of how I like to do it, you know. Ever since doing like these YouTube videos, I've been learning so much how to do things myself, how to film myself, how to record myself, you know, doing YouTube videos, and it's been very enlightening, you know, and empowering as well, you know. I think everyone should learn how to do everything themselves first before they try to outsource and get like other people to do things, you know, like go into the studio and stuff like this, you know. Because then at least you're speaking from a little bit of experience, you know. If you've learnt how to record yourself even a little bit, you know, then you can you have a bit more knowledge when you go into a studio, and you can kind of say how you like things to be recorded, you know, and what sort of microphones you what sort of sound you're after, you know. But yeah. Hey Rick, how's it going? Welcome to the live stream. How old? Too old. No, 38. I'm 38. you know, getting closer to that to 40, the big 40. But no, I'm looking forward to it, actually. Looking forward to kind of getting a bit older and a bit wiser, you know. Stuart Holland, that's my dad. My dad's in the chat. Hey, Dad. What are you doing up so late? G says, try Big Muff. It worked out for John Martin. Yeah, actually, funny you said that. I've been looking at Big Muffs. You know, the old style ones. Not necessarily a vintage one, because I think the vintage ones go for quite a lot, but the original sort of Big Muff, it's huge. It's like a big fat thing. But you know, you can pick them up actually for a fairly good price. I've seen some for like 60 euros here in Germany, you know, secondhand. And it's not too bad. I really like Electro Harmonics, actually. I've got one of their Echo, like digital Echo, #1 Echo pedals. I've always been a big fan of Electro Harmonics. And some of their like vintage pedals and like the early stuff they did, they were like had some really experimental pedals and all kinds of things. Really cool stuff. I'd love to experiment around with some of that. If I can get my hands on it, that would be cool. Hey, Stasia, how's it going? Stasia says, since we're listening to live sound, is the mic connected directly to your phone for streaming, recording? Trying to set up my setup and learning options. Yeah, it is Stasia, huh? Stasia. I apologize, everyone. I'm really bad with names and with pronouncing as well. You know, I am dyslexic. Literally, I've been diagnosed as a kid. So I really struggle with names, especially when it's all sorts of people from around the world. So I just apologize. I'm gonna butcher your names, but you know, if you can all forgive me, that would be great. This is, so I just got I have a large diaphragm. This is a Neumann TLM 107, but it's a large diaphragm. It's a going into my interface, and then I have it going into my my DAW, which I'm using Reaper, which is like it's a really nice DAW. I'm really enjoying Reaper at the moment. I mean, I've explored with lots of others as well, but at the moment I'm using Reaper, and it's fairly cheap. I think I got it for like 60 euros or something like that. Bought the license for it, and then I'm going from Reaper into OBS. I wonder, you know, if I can actually show you on my screen. Might be a bit easier. One sec. Let's see if I can do this. This will give me a challenge. If you can, everyone can still hear me, hopefully. Should be able to do that. Okay. So you can kind of see, look, there's Reaper, and that's the microphone that you're seeing there. And then I have a few different tracks. There's a pickup. You can see that is actually, that's my pickup. The says pickup dry. Here you can see on my mouse here, pickup dry, and then I've got another one just below it says pickup wet, and this is where I have kind of a stereo. So I have one pickup and I've just doubled it, like repeated the pickup, and I've got it through another signal chain through like more effects, and then you can see, and then I've got it connected to a volume pedal, and that's controlling that one. You can see that going up and down, so it goes down, and when I bring the volume pedal up, it brings in these sort of effects. You know, I've got distortion and reverb at the moment. I turn the distortion off, and then I just have like this big reverb. And when I perform, I just hit like, I have reverb on there. You can probably hear that. I can't hear that because I'm just listening directly from my interface. So I don't get any delay, you know, in my headphones. So because I'm monitoring directly from the interface. So I can't exactly hear. I can't hear exactly what you're hearing. So that's why sometimes it can be tricky to get all the levels right. Yeah, I can kind of visually see how the levels are doing and everything like that. So then from there, I've got it set up as like a My microphone keeps on popping and I don't know why. Hold on. Maybe it's might be a loose connection. Hold on one sec. I'll just mute the microphone. Keeps on popping it. Well, seems okay. And then I've got it going into this, which is if I show you that, it's going to show you the screen. Hold on. I've got it going into OBS, which I can't really show you because then it's going to like loop itself, and it's going to be one of these never-ending mirrors, which I just showed you. I can show you quick. So it's like one of these never-ending screens. It's like, what? A bit crazy, and that's how I've got it. And then from OBS, I stream directly to YouTube. And then I've got my camera, obviously. I've just got my camera. It's a Sony ZV-E10, and it's great for live streams because it's got a battery, like a dummy battery, so it's connected to the mains. And then I've got a HDMI out going to the computer, and so that's that. It's a little complicated, but with this, bear in mind, this whole setup maybe took me over a year probably to get to this, from when I started doing live streams, So when I started doing live streams, you can look back. I don't know if it's been over a year, probably. I was using like a webcam, a Logitech C920 webcam. I think it's called. You can pick them up for like $50, something like that, $70 maybe. And I was able to. You can change the settings manually. You can get certain apps or plugins, I should say, on the computer, and you can change the settings manually. And that's really handy for webcams, and that really, really helps. And you can do that in OBS if you have a PC. If you have a Mac, you can't for some reason. But you can just get a plugin which changes the camera settings on a webcam, just makes it a whole lot better. And then I was just using like a really cheap interface. I can't remember what I was using it. Maybe even using my Zoom as an interface, and then can't remember which microphone I was using at the time, and then just one mic. I was maybe using like a ribbon mic at the time. I have a few ribbons, just super simple. But I don't use my phone. I've never used my phone. I know I've done a video on that, because it can be a little awkward to use your phone and try to connect like a interface or something, or a microphone to your phone. It's doable, and I do it with the Zoom sometimes. I've done a demonstration of it, but I would only do that if I didn't have access to like a computer, you know. Everything's always so much easier with a computer, you know. So I would recommend doing that if you can. But if you prefer just using a phone, then just do that. I'm sure there's also other things you can connect to a phone in terms of microphones and stuff. I haven't really looked that far into it, but you know, it's also, that could be a really easy way. But at the end of this long rant, I'm sorry everyone, I'm just rambling now. Start simple and then kind of build up gradually, you know. So I would never start out with all this equipment and this complicated setup, you know. Just start simple. OBS is free, you know. Just use a webcam maybe, or even your phone, you know, things like that, and then build up as you go, you know. But I think that something to be said for just start before you're ready, you know. Absolutely. All right, let's go to a few more comments. Don says, how do you decide when a song has enough notes? I started to try and compose my own songs, but it seems I'm adding too many notes, chords, hints, tricks. Yeah, I mean, I like to start really simple, and it gradually gets more complicated just through me playing it, and most of the time it's just kind of me improvising, you know. So a song like that I did, you know, most of that is just improvising, but the main melody, you know, it's just a melody and a bass line. That's what I pretty much start off with, you know. And that's what my songs always start out really simple, a melody and a bass line. Because I'm not really a strummer, so I don't think about the chords, you know. And a lot of the time I'm singing the melody and playing the melody, you know. So that kind of keeps things very simple for me. And I do that because I like to do that, and because I take influence from like folk songs and folk players and blues players that do that as well. It's not on all of my songs, but on a lot of them you'll find. You know, something like that. And so you can do the same with chords, you know. Come up with chords, a simple chord line, just start off making it simple, and then kind of build upon that. I like to just start as simple as I can, and you know, my songs change as well every time I play it. A lot of them sound really complicated, but it's because also I'm playing fingerstyle guitar. I'm in open tunings. I'm playing a lot of like open strings, you know, a lot of these hammer-ons, and you know, it sounds really complicated, but I'm really you know, I'm just kind of improvising. I've got an idea how it will sound, but I don't know exactly how, you know, how everything's going to sound. And that way, you know, and you asked, I don't want to go off too much on your question of like, how do you know when a song has too many notes? I mean, probably my song has too many notes, you know, but I like that. But I know that I can simplify it. So having this ability to change the song every time I play it, you know, so I can, with every song that I do, I can just make it as simple as I can, as simple as I like, rather, or as complicated as I like, you know. And I like that freedom and that flexibility. So maybe that's something you could try, is just keep it very, very simple as you can. A melody and a bass line, a melody and chords, whatever, however you play. And then once the song is done, then you start to add in sort of the complicated bits, and all those sort of, you know, those add-ons. I think of it like a bit like building a house, you know. If you look at like a house, it's really complicated with like sockets and windows and all kinds of things, and furniture as well, and drawers, and, you know, if you try and take on that project, it's like, wow, that's really overwhelming. That's too much stuff. That's too many notes if we go with this analogy. But you know, but if you look at it like a really basic thing, as a basic structure, okay, get the what do they call it? The baseline, the bass, the ground ready, whatever. I don't know. I know nothing about building houses, but you know what I mean. And the blueprints, and, you know, just make it as simple as possible, and then you add in all those little extra kind of bits. I have no idea if that helps. Hopefully that helps you. Hopefully it makes sense what I'm saying. I have no idea. Jeej says he has an old one of the Big Muffs. Great. Perfect. Nice. Okay, I'm gonna play another song now before I start talking too much. Foundation. Thank you, Jeej. Thanks a lot. Yeah, Foundations. I'm gonna keep it in C. And this is another song that I haven't played in a while because I wasn't really too happy about it. It was like, it's a bit of a humorous song, I guess, and it's in a major key. It's called Spring. But again, it's like I'm trying to play these songs that I don't like as much, but maybe I can find something in there to kind of revitalize it and start playing it again. So I'll probably mess up these lyrics again, but you know, if you know me, you know I don't care. I'll do my best. Yeah. Alright, that mic keeps on popping. I have no idea why. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Put a bit of reverb on there. Bit of reverb. There's that pop again. Hold on. Let's try and fix it again. Might be the cable. All right, I'll just start. Here we go. Sun is up and the grass is green. As plants popped up, we forgot we'd seen. The spring is coming through. With my trowel and with my spade, I plant this lettuce by the shade. The spring is coming through. Out come the shorts and the lily white legs, the pasty body and the pint of Beck's. The spring is coming through. Your dog's on heat and the pigeons are too. They got their eye on your picnic food. The spring is coming through. Windows down and my stereo on. In my rusty Ford there's a few things wrong, but the spring is coming through. She looks at me, I'm electrified, with her long red hair and her big brown eyes. The spring is coming through. Sun is up and the grass is green. As plants popped up, we forgot we'd seen. The spring is coming through. With my trowel and with my spade, I plant this lettuce by the shade. The spring is coming through. And that was Spring. So I didn't forget the lyrics, but I did have them here just in case. So, these are some of the songs that I'm sort of trying to relearn again, and trying to sort of revitalize, Yeah, so it's I know I started late, but it's we'll answer a few more questions, and then I'll do one more song, and then any last minute questions after that, then I'll end it, because I still want to enjoy, what's left of my birthday, Here we go. So I'm tuning. I was in C, G, C, G, C, D. Now I'm going back to Dadgad. D, A, D, G, A, D. All right, who else is here? Chris. Hello from Atlanta. Hey Chris, how's it going? Chris says, I have a Mojotone NC2 magnetic mic pickup coming from my for my Yari. Nice. Have you ever tried one? I haven't tried Yari. Is it pronounced Yari? Yairi? I'm not sure. But I know them. I haven't tried a Mojotone NC2 magnetic. I tried a load of magnetic pickups. I am a fan of the magnetic pickup, for sure. I thought I had a Sunrise pickup for years, and that's actually I used just that pickup for for years, for a while, and I'm a big fan of the simple setup, But I always do this. I go really simple, and then I add a little bit more. I think it'd be nice to have just a preamp with this, or it'd be nice to have a pedal with this, or my own reverb pedal, and then you add a little bit more and more, and before you know it, you've just got pedals and preamps and all kinds of things, So at one point I had 3 signals coming out of this guitar. So I had a sound hole pickup, I had an internal microphone, and I had the undersaddle as well, or a piezo. 3 signals being processed by 3 different preamps, then going to 3 different EQs, and then getting blended and putting into different reverbs and all kinds of stuff, and it sounded great, but it's, if you have such a complicated setup like that, as something goes wrong, it's very hard to figure out what that is. And, I found myself a lot of the time just not liking the sound, because in every venue, the sound is very different, because you're going through different speakers. The room is different, it's a different sound engineer. A lot of the time I didn't like the sound, and especially when I didn't have enough time to set up and to sound check. Sound check is super important. A sound check can give you lots of confidence and lots of confidence and sort of going into a show. That's so important. Or it can just, if you don't have a good sound check, that can just completely ruin a show. because you're just going on there on stage with the thought of, I'm not really happy with this sound, you know. And I've had these situations. Sorry, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here about this story, but I just wanted to say this. I've had a situation where I actually, I was in this sort of complicated setup. I was super specific about my guitar sound on stage, and there was a time when I didn't have any of that. I couldn't access any of that. It's a long story, but basically I was living on a boat, and I had all of my gear was in storage in this storage place. And I just forgot that I couldn't access this storage on a Sunday, which was when my gig was. So I forgot to get it out on the Saturday beforehand. So I couldn't access any of my gear, nothing, not my guitar, no pedals, no pickups, nothing. And I had to just borrow a friend's guitar, it was great. It was fine. You know, it was one of these sort of cheaper Martin guitars, you know, triple O models or whatever it is. And, you know, with the pickup that comes with the guitar, which is generally not amazing. And it was one of the best gigs I've ever had. You know, it's because I'll tell you why. Not because of the sound. The sound is not what made the show. It was my attitude and towards everything, because I remember I had a conversation beforehand with my partner, and I remember saying, like, you know what, I'm just not gonna care. You know, I'm just gonna have a good time. You know, I don't want to swear on YouTube and it'll demonetize me. I don't monetize the live streams anyway, but you know what I mean. I was just like, F it, you know. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And sometimes you just got to say it really doesn't matter. And most of the time, the audience can't tell the difference between, you know, a really nice sort of complicated setup and pickup sound and a bog standard cheap guitar sound. Or maybe they can slightly, but they don't care. That's the thing. The audience doesn't care, most of them, unless they're musicians themselves or guitarists and they know about that. Most of the time they don't care. And they care about you, your performance, your, you know, the way you deliver a song, everything like that, your attitude on stage, you know. So it really, I learned a valuable lesson on that, you know. As much as I like gear and like a nice setup and having all this, you know, the pedals and nice guitar and everything, what makes it is you, really, you know. As cheesy as that is, it's completely true. Anyway, after my ramble, Alvarez Yari, yeah. Sorry, going back to Chris, yeah. Handmade in Japan. I think, you know what? Did they make? Were they making Loudons at some point? Correct me if that's wrong. The workshop in the Yari workshop, maybe they were making Loudons in the 80s. I actually have one of those Loudons. For 5 years, from 1980 to 1985, Loudon guitars were made in Japan. I don't know. I might be just making that up if it was the Yari workshop, but it rings a bell. Adrian, how's it going? Amazing song. Happy birthday. Thanks so much. It's amazing how dynamically rich your guitar playing is. Do you do any specific exercises to practice it? Thanks so much. Yeah. Not really. I mean, what I try and do is I try and bundle everything in, because I'm so limited with time. I bundle everything in, so my practice session, my songwriting sessions, my recording sessions, it's all in one session, you know? And ultimately, that's songwriting, you know, because songwriting takes the most amount of time. So I try to practice certain things that I want to be practicing, and like these sort of techniques and and dynamics especially. I'm really big on dynamics. I try and use them in the song that I'm doing, whether it's like practicing a song, relearning a song, or writing a song. I try and use that in my songwriting session, because to me, that's the most important thing. You know, when I'm so limited with time, and most of us are, we have, like, I have one session in a day, usually in the evenings, where I'm just like, here's my songwriting, sit down. That's the most important to me. But if I can only sit myself down once in a day, then I will practice, make sure I practice these certain things as well. And yeah, for me, it's dynamics, and just kind of making sure that in a song, whatever it is, you know, what I'm in Dadgad now, whatever melody I'm playing, just having lots of dynamics in there, you know, almost overly so, you know, just so I'm still writing the song, I'm still practicing the song, I'm still doing my songwriting session, but I'm also practicing these other things at the same time, you know. It's a way of me trying to be efficient with my time. Hope that helps. But there's no really specific sort of things that I do as a regular sort of practice, you know. I just try and combine it all in the songwriting session, if that makes sense. But there was one thing, I'm going to say one thing on that. There was one thing where if you want to get, for fingerstyle, lots of dynamics, a lot of it is in the right hand, and practicing. So if you have like a pattern that you use regularly, you know, try and give yourself practice dynamics within these fingers or within the strings that you're playing, you know. So try and make say if you want the bass line here, the bass line in the foreground, you do that, you know, and have the high notes in the background. But if you want to switch it, you know, so I'm sort of emphasizing certain strings as I'm playing, you know, and it's just kind of one of the ways to practice dynamics in there. And it's a good way of like bringing out melody, you know, in a simple sort of pattern, if that makes sense. Hope that helps. All right, what I'm gonna do, if there's any more questions, then make sure you get them in now, because I'm gonna do one more song and then I'm gonna end it, because it's getting late here now in Berlin. It's just past 11 o'clock. I'm going to do one of my favorite songs from one of my favorite artists called, his name's Blind Willie Johnson. And if you haven't heard of him, you should look him up. He was covered by loads of people like Led Zeppelin and Eric Clapton. Loads of people covered his songs. He was considered one of the greatest, and still is considered one of the greatest slide players of all time. And you know, I think it's important to listen to these original recordings, you know, and it's really, it helps you kind of get to understand the past the what am I trying to say? it helps you understand the real the music in a deeper way when you hear these original recordings, you know, and that helps you know, redo these songs, and when if you're trying to sing them yourself, you should always listen to the original recordings or whoever did the original version of it, you know, if it's a traditional song or like a gospel song or something like this, you know. Yeah, that's a good thing to say, Jeech. Dynamics for an acoustic guitarist are like bends for an electric guitarist. Yeah, absolutely. It's what sorts the sheep from the goats. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm gonna sing this song. It's called Nobody's Fault But Mine. So make sure you get in the any more questions, anything like that. I'll be happy to answer them before the end of the song, and then I'll answer them before I end the stream. Here we go. Put a bit of reverb on the mic. All right. Nobody's fault but mine. Nobody's fault but mine. If I don't read, my soul be lost. And I have a Bible in my home. And I have a Bible in my home. If I don't read, my soul be lost. She taught me how to read. Mother, she taught me how to read. If I don't read, my soul be lost. Sister, she taught me how to read. Sister, she taught me how to read. If I don't read, my soul be lost. Nobody's fault but mine. I have a Bible of my own. If I don't read, my soul be lost. Father, he taught me how to read. Father, he taught me how to read. If I don't read, my soul be lost. Mother, she taught me how to read. Mother, she taught me how to read. If I don't read, my soul be lost. Nobody's fault but mine. Nobody's fault. Nobody's fault. Nobody's fault. Nobody's fault. Nobody's fault. Nobody's fault but mine. That was Nobody's Fault But Mine by Blind Willie Johnson. Okay, all right. So I'm going to answer anybody, any questions, anything like that. Boom, boom, boom. Nobody's Fault But Mine, yeah. Bum, bum. All right. So I think we're caught up with all the questions. Let me just go back. Anything else like this? Before I end it, actually, let me just, if anybody's not signed up to the community, I invite you to do so. It's completely free. And it's a really nice community that I'm trying to build. The link's in the description down below. And you know, it's basically means we can have these conversations in kind of not just in the live streams. And I give updates on what I'm doing in the next coming live stream and stuff like this. I'm trying to kind of build it up and just have a place where specifically for acoustic guitar players and singer-songwriters, you know, people that sing, write songs, and play acoustic guitar. And we cover things like guitar techniques, songwriting, recording, live performance, and talking about sort of various different gear and stuff like that. And, you know, when you're a singer-songwriter and that's all you're doing, and you're not in a band or anything like that, and especially if you're not gigging or anything and you're just recording at home, it can be a very lonely world. And I know there's lots of other communities out there like this, but if you vibe with me and the stuff that I put out on my YouTube videos, then I invite you to come and join us. Link is in the description down below. Anyway, thank you all for joining me on this wonderful day. It's evening here in Berlin. I'm gonna end it now. So thanks everyone, and thanks for joining the live stream, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.